Welcome to Texas 2036's virtual series, Straight Talk Texas, where you have a front row seat to conversations on topics important to our future. My name is Denise Shropshire, Director of Board and External Affairs here at Texas 2036. Today we are joined by Sophia Johnson, founder and president of ABI, a Dallas-based advertising and marketing firm. Launched in 2003, the firm has grown to become a leading agency for the transportation, education, and healthcare industries, and also for nonprofit organizations. ABI was hired by the city of Dallas to lead their outreach efforts for the 2020 census, which will be the focus of our conversation today. Sophia is not only an incredibly talented businesswoman and community leader, she is also someone that I admire and consider a friend. Welcome to Straight Talk Texas, Sophia.
Thank you for having me on this show.
Well, let's jump right into the topic at hand, the 2020 census. Most people who are watching are aware of the census. They've probably heard a lot about it, but it's just to set the table, what exactly is the census?
The census is a survey. It's a survey put out by the federal government. It's 10 questions. It takes about 10 minutes, and we ask all residents that are within the United States and its territories to fill it out. So if you sleep here most of the time within our borders, then you are eligible to fill out the census.
And I understand that there's about $675 billion federal dollars that is based on census data. Of those dollars, how much is at stake for the state of Texas and for Dallas?
The state of Texas is upward of $100 billion that is at stake. The estimates vary, but you're talking about over $3,000 per person when you talk about the different forms of aid that are given to the state. And it is based on, if you have more residents, you get more money.
And what is the funding used for?
The funding can be used for the Children's Health Insurance Program, Pell Grants. Funding is also decided on things like the school nutrition program, what happens with our hospitals in terms of Medicare, Medicaid, and even the construction of them, highways and roads, schools, school construction. But what happens in our education system is heavily decided by the census count. It helps us decide planning. Will there need to be a new school in that area based on projections? So census data is vitally important to so much of what is a part of our regular everyday life.
It seems like there's whenever there's money involved, there's always a discussion around equity, and seems like it's so important for the census to understand where the people are so that money can be distributed accordingly.
That is exactly right. And what you find there are groups of people called hard to count people. And what you find are typically the people that really will benefit from census count services like school nutrition program, Children's Health Insurance Program, are also usually the hard to count people. So you're talking about those who are in poverty, those who are possibly undocumented, those who don't speak the English language, those who are ethnic minorities, and then also families that have children 0 to 5 years of age.
And what makes them hard to count? Like, what is it that puts them into that category? Why are they,
So they're categorized as hard to count because the federal government hopes that people will voluntarily fill out the census without an enumerator having to come to your door. So an enumerator is a worker on behalf of the US government that will come and knock on your door and help walk you through the 10 questions. But when you do that, that's labor intensive and it's expensive. So their hope is you get it in the mail and you fill it out. Or you get online, as it is this year, because this is the first year that it's available online, but you get online and you fill it out at 2020census.gov. When you don't fill it out by sending the mail back in, by calling, or by getting online, and an enumerator has to come, you are then considered hard to count.
Oh, wow. And I was so interested and excited about the census this year, especially with the work that we do here at Texas 2036, that I actually, was hired to be an enumerator. But of course, COVID-19 has
Yeah.
affected that a lot. How else has COVID-19 had an effect on your outreach efforts?
I will say that two big things. One, people really only want to talk about COVID 19.
Mm.
I mean, it's really hard to get the ear of the average resident because when they're looking online, as much as you can say, well, they're on their computer all the time. They are, but a lot of that time is spent looking at news that has to do with COVID 19.
Mhm.
And so the census, because it doesn't have a sense of emergency and urgency, people think, yeah. So you get kind of that reaction to
Mhm.
it because it's
Mhm.
not an emergency topic. But another issue that's a big problem for us is so much of our strategy for Dallas County really depended on us meeting people where they are. We wanted to make sure that our team was comprised of people that know where the hard to count are, that know the community influencers of the hard to count, and that we would be in front of their face. If they're at the grocery store, we're there. If they're at the track meet, we're there. If they are at the bazaar, we're there. Well, because there's no gathering, then we can't really meet them where they are physically, and we're having to take our tactics and really transition them to meeting them where they are online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw the census.gov has a mapping tracker, and it's showing currently that Texas only has responded 53.3% or so have responded for the entire state. I think Dallas was slightly higher at like 56%. But what are the consequences for not responding? Like, what does that do for our communities?
Well, there are a couple of things. First, it puts the burden on the federal government to go door to door to find the hard to count. So we will continue with our education and awareness efforts. We'll actually be doing some door to door once we're out of shelter in place, but it puts the burden, if people don't get online or mail it in, on someone having to go door to door. But the issue really for Texas is we've got the fastest growing area right here in our metro area.
Mm.
But you don't want to miss out on funding for the residents that are here, because when an area is growing, that means that the support it needs is growing, and what should be allocated to our residents, if they're not filling out the census, doesn't get allocated.
Mhm.
That's one thing. That is the more people, more money factor. But there's also a more people, more power factor.
Mhm.
And that really has to do with, if we have more residents, and we do, and we're growing while somewhere like Mississippi is shrinking, then we should have more congressional representation. We should have more of a say, more weight in what happens in Congress. And so, if our residents are accurately counted, we may pick up one, two, some are even saying three seats in Congress, and taking those seats from states that really have a decreasing population. And that is a really big deal when you have larger congressional representation.
Mhm.
Sometimes those votes are really decided by one or two people.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for Texas to be able to have its say is a really big deal. It also plays into redistricting is done every 10 years, and how the lines will be drawn. They have to take into account census data that says these are how many people are in each area, because you really want an equal amount when you're talking about representation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's so important that if there are groups that are being underrepresented, and here is an opportunity for them, maybe when the lines are redrawn, to actually have someone representing a really big group, you want to see that. So
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
reason. And that's a huge reason. It's more of a sophisticated concept that maybe your average person is not talking about. But I will tell you that those people who are familiar with politics, all of your listeners are going to completely understand why the redistricting issue is so important.
It's also important, to know that when businesses are looking to move to a region, that they use census data to understand the customer's needs, where to locate in a certain region. Those businesses create economic opportunities for these communities. So when Amazon was looking here, I hear Tesla may be shopping around for a new place to move to. They look to see where are the people, where's the workforce. Those are huge issues that businesses look to as well. So it's about the dollars, it's about representation, it's about business, it's about community. It's just about the data as a whole. The data that is collected from the census. It's used by lawmakers, like you said, and business owners and many others to provide services and products to support all of our communities. And as you mentioned, Texas is a big state, 28 million. And in Texas 2036 data estimates that we will grow by an additional 10 million people by our bicentennial, which is in the year 2036. So that's this census, that's the 2030 census. So we have some work to do. But there's a
You're
lot
making a good point too, Anisha, and I think that people take it for granted, but because I own an ad agency, I do a lot of market research on behalf of our clients, and I use census data when they're trying to decide. They're coming in, and let's say we have one client that owns a mall, and he really wants to decide what kind of store should I have here? Do I have enough traffic? How do I make the case for potential stores to come to my mall? And they're looking at, are there residents and is it growing? So when you see an area like Ovilla and Red Oak growing, that makes somebody say, oh, I may want to be in Southern Dallas County. But if you don't see that, and if residents say, I don't want to fill out the census, then we may have gotten a Whole Foods grocery store, or we may have gotten a Nordstrom, but they have to see that there are going to be people there that are willing to shop. So many decisions are made by, should I put my office or my factory or my medical institution there? Are the residents there? Then that makes the business case.
Gosh, you're really making a case for everyone is concerned about equity, whether you live in North Dallas or Southern Dallas. It doesn't matter. Everyone is concerned about these things, and you're making a great case for how this participating in the census could help be a tool by which we solve some issues when it comes to equity. So that's really great to know.
Absolutely.
But as you are aware, there's a lot of misinformation about the census and what that data is used for. What are those concerns valid? And how can people move past their concerns about what the data is used for?
I will say that it's smart for people to ask. And I think that a climate was created last year that made some of our neighbors uncomfortable because there was the concern that there may be the citizenship question. And I think that some of the residents here that made them uncomfortable about, is this going to be attached to law enforcement? Is there an opportunity for somebody to exploit me? I think because so much has happened with personal information, people are cautious. But I will say that the great thing is two things. One, it's absolutely illegal for the Census Bureau to share information that is submitted to the Bureau with any law enforcement agency, with any landlord, with any business. Any of the personal information that is given cannot be shared for 72 years. So you're really talking about, maybe you can look at your great grandparents' census from the 1920s, but if it's not 72 years old or older, you can't even look at the personal information. So what is shared is the count. How many people are in that area? That's what businesses can know. If I want to know how many people live in Dallas, it will tell me. If I want to know how many females live in Dallas, it will tell me. But what it won't say is anything specifically about Sophia Johnson, the number of people that live in my home, whether I'm married, that type of thing. So I think that people can be completely comfortable that the information is protected by law, and it would be illegal for the Census Bureau to share it with anyone. I think that it's also really important for people to know, when you think about potential scammers, there's no money associated with the Census Bureau. Nobody's going to ask you for payment. Nobody's going to ask you your social security number. No one is going to ask you for a credit card. So there are a couple of people that have tried to take advantage, and I think it is really important for people to know what will and won't be asked.
Talk a little bit more again about the different ways in which people can respond.
So the good news is that everybody should have received their census by mail by now. The census actually started in the middle of March, but it started with most people getting an invitation to answer online. And I'll tell you that that was really challenging for Dallas County, and specifically for the city of Dallas and some of our other areas, challenging for Houston, for Harris County and Houston, because in some of our larger urban areas, we don't have internet connection like some of our more affluent suburbs do. So when the census came out in the middle of March and it said, get online and fill out the census, there were a whole bunch of residents that couldn't get online. The benefit is, a month later, they mailed the actual survey. So now people can get online, 2020census.gov, and fill it out. They can mail back the actual survey that they got, or they can also call. So you can call in and give your answers over the phone too. So they've got 3 options, and hopefully now residents are really taking advantage of the paper option, which they've been used to every 10 years. But for people like me, my husband and I, we just got online right away and filled it out.
Yeah, and I did as well. So I definitely am practicing what I'm attempting to preach here with you. One thing that I didn't know is that that the census is required by law to complete. Is that correct?
You are required by law to fill out the census. You could be subject to a fine. I don't know to the extent that's really enforced, but it is strongly encouraged, because the government can't really do what it needs to do if it doesn't have an accurate count of its people. So it's strongly encouraged, to the point that the government will send a person to your home to help you fill it out if you don't get it done.
Yeah, and let's hope that we're able to get back to that place where we can go door to door as we need it. And again, COVID-19 has exacerbated a lot of issues that already existed, and that states the case even more for reason why we should participate in the census. What are some of the ways in which ABI are leading the charge here in Dallas?
So we are first using social media. If people are on Facebook, they are going to see our ads. I hear all my friends say, I saw your ads. But if they're on Facebook or Instagram, they're going to see our ads. If you look in your email, you've probably received an email from us. The federal, at the federal level, you're also seeing TV commercials. We have all of our elected officials engaged, so they are posting and they are sending emails. In addition, we are out. So to the extent that we can be out, we're doing so. With Dallas ISD, we're a part of their food giveaway, so we're giving out hand sanitizer and flyers, which makes us kind of popular. We're at Lowe's home improvement locations, and we're giving out hand sanitizer and flyers, and we've actually got kiosks with pads, and people can fill out the census right then, or we're giving them instructions on how to fill it out on their phone. We are joining Services of Hope, which is a nonprofit here that's giving out food. So as it pertains to aid being given out, we want to be in place there. And then we want to be where people are socially. We also have a host of churches that I'm really, really thankful. They are including it in their online services. So the other day I was actually watching my church, and the slide came up and there was an announcement about the census. So there are a lot of partnerships that are engaged, because they benefit from the census just as much as a resident. These nonprofits, churches, government entities, everybody benefits from the count of the census. So it's really helpful that they're all partnering.
Well, thank you so much. This has been really just informative for me, and I'm sure for our viewers. Are there any, last things that you'd like for our viewers to know about the census?
I would say that if you want to call, if that's what works best for you, if you're feeling lonely and you want to get on the phone, the number to call to fill out the census over the phone is 844-330-2020. But besides that, go to census.gov and fill it out. It's less than 10 minutes and 10 questions, or fill out the paper copy that you received in the mail.
Well, again, thank you so much, Sophia, and thank you all for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you all for watching Straight Talk Texas. If you have questions and feedback, we want to hear from you. Email us at straighttalk@texas2036.org and follow us on social media and sign up to receive our emails. Visit texas2036.org for more information. Until next time, wishing you and your family well.